Hello, everyone, and welcome to Finger Guns with Tony, James, and Dave. I am one of your co-hosts, Dave Baldwin, and here I am with
Tony Baldwin,
James Amatuzio.
And this is a new podcast for us. We've had a couple of ideas in the past. A couple of us have been on podcasts before, but this is the first time that the three of us are striking out on our own. So, how are we doing tonight, boys?
I am pretty tired. I was at the cottage all weekend, and kind of want to sleep. I kind of want to die. A little bit of both,
Yeah, I'm about the same. I'm here.
You were at the cottage this weekend?
No, I'm feeling about the same though. I am a little sleepy, but I'm okay. I'm here. I'm very excited to actually start this with you guys. So, yes, welcome to Finger Guns.
Finger Guns. Pew 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 pew.
So to start, I think one of the things we're going to try to do with this podcast, at least at the beginning, is keep a segment where we get to talk about what we've watched over the last couple weeks. So we'll break it up as sort of like the best, the meh, and the worst of the last 2 weeks. So I can start. I'll give sort of my three. I haven't seen a whole lot in the last 2 weeks, so going back a couple weeks now. I'm going to put my best as The Brood, which is my first time I ever had to see it.
Ooh, 70s Cronenberg. I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah, it was something. I'm really happy that we're doing that Criterion challenge for everybody. The three of us have started a Criterion movie challenge where every week we're watching a new Criterion movie based on a certain set of criteria, and one of them was The Brood, and it was the first time I've ever seen like old school early Cronenberg, and I was blown away. It's wild. It is an absolute fucking trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's a journey. Every early Cronenberg movie is a journey.
Yeah,
For sure.
an absolute treat, but like so very
Very
70s.
Yeah,
In
and friendly
terms of,
friendly too.
Oh yeah. It's a wholesome movie. But yeah, so that was my best, and then I think my meh was one we all watched together. This 80s blaxploitation. I'm gonna get you, sucker, which was fine. It was fine. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was sort of what I was expecting, I guess, from like a not even stereotypical. I was commenting on the genre.
Yeah.
Well, it's trying to be stereotypical, right? It's making fun of certain
Tropes, yeah.
Tropes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
like there was that scene.
ideas.
There was that scene in the bar where she's she's flipping towards the guys to punch them, and it like swaps over to like a dude with dreadlocks, and then switches back to her leaning against the bar.
Yeah.
Perfection. It was great.
Yeah, and like instead of the war on drugs, like they're all getting gold chains.
The gold
Yeah, it was a
chains.
war on
Like,
gold
it's-
chains.
Love,
Yeah.
I love the gold,
Like,
gold
it's-
chains, but
It's very clever for what it is.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
what it is.
But it was
And
sort
it's
of
a good take on blaxploitation, I would say.
Yeah. And that was so it was my man. I mean, if you're into blaxploitation and want to see like a good commentary
who
on it, I
isn't?
mean, you all should be.
Who isn't?
You all should be.
Right? And it is Black History Month, so it was appropriate.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, outside of that, my worst was I was rewatching. I was feeling kind of shitty a couple weeks back. Like I had a sinus infection, so I usually watch movies that make me feel happy. So I watched the first Star Trek from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yes,
I
good.
should say.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, the clarification is needed. And it's still good, but then I followed it up with Into Darkness, and the only saving grace is that I watched it in a 4K, and it looks fucking gorgeous. It is stunning, and like full frame, taking up my 75-inch screen.
Does it
Beautiful.
Does it all look gorgeous, or just like the lens flares?
There's a lot.
There's a
He,
whole lot
like-
of lens flare.
He loves it.
Yeah,
Loves
and
his
the
lens
first one
flare.
was egregious. The second one is like the whole movie's a lens flare.
Everything's so clean. Everything's glistening.
Yeah,
Very
everything's got a
crisp.
sheen to it.
Yeah.
Anton Yelchin, though.
Yeah,
It's,
my boy.
Pour one
Oh.
out. pour one out for Anton Yelchin.
Always. Otherwise, that movie, oof. Plot-wise, oof.
God.
My review on Letterboxd was just the clip that it was Star Trek for goats, and so it was just the goat instead of saying Khan. It was bah!
That's fair.
Amazing.
That's
Anyway,
fair.
so those are my three. Either one of you.
All right. So my best, meh, and worst. Let's start off with the best. The best, I would say, is The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. There's not much I could say about this because I was left shocked and kind of sick to my stomach. It's about based on a true story. It's about this man. His name is Kenneth Chamberlain. His medical bracelet goes off in the middle of the night. The cops come. Same story. He's a black man in the ghetto in the States, and the cops want to come in, make sure he's okay. Through miscommunication and all that sort of police brutality, all that nonsense, he ends up getting murdered. And I definitely had nightmares. But this movie is required viewing for anybody, and it's definitely something that you guys should check out. It was phenomenal. The main actor, his name is escaping me right now.
Frankie Faison.
He's the best he's ever been. I think he delivers one hell of a performance. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's definitely one you should seek out for sure.
I'm adding that to my watch list. That
You definitely
wild,
should,
man.
And stick around after the credits. There's a Marvel post-credit scene.
No.
And yeah, it is, and it is chilling.
The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain 2?
Yeah, pretty much. But
Electric
yeah,
Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo, yeah.
Oh my god, I can't believe they could put one in there. Like, how that movie sounds like it has a complete structure.
Oh, it was in real time.
Don't spoil it for me.
No spoilers, but it goes out in real time, and I wasn't expecting the scene, and it caught me off guard, and I was even more shook.
All right.
Going into my meh, I might get a little bit of flack for this, but my meh for this week is Bloodsport.
Did you not enjoy being invited to the Kumite?
I did not. I did not. Oh, side point. If you guys ever want to turn Bloodsport into a drinking game, anytime they say Kumite, you take a shot.
I can't.
That sounds like a mess.
Like I've never seen it beginning to end, but like, how can you turn down the invitation to the Kumite, Tony?
I did it very easily. It was something. Don't get me wrong. Like the fighting, the Kumite, as you guys like to put it, was good. Like the fighting's good. The fight scenes were amazing.
That's what it's called. It's called the Kumite.
Yeah, I understand what it is.
The tournament.
Yes, thank you. But honestly, if you guys are all into Jean-Claude Van Damme and his the muscles from Brussels,
Who isn't?
Who isn't?
Who isn't?
Apparently you.
Apparently me.
It's fine.
It just
you.
didn't do it for me. Like everyone hyped it up. I had seen scenes of it when I was younger, but now that I've seen it entirely for the first time, I was just kind of meh.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then I'm probably gonna get flack for this too, just judgment from probably why I watched it. But my worst movie is the classic from 2003, I think. It's called Charlie's Angels Full Throttle.
Oh no! Was that the second one?
That was the second one.
Was there only two?
There was only two. Thank God.
And then there was and
then the reboot.
The reboot. That's right.
Yeah. This movie took everything that was good about the first one and completely threw it away. They replaced Bill Murray with Bernie Mac, which
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it, but like I prefer Bill Murray.
Well, he was a dick on set. That's why they replaced him. He didn't want to come back.
Yeah, that's fair. But then they get rid of the best part of the first one, which is obviously Sam Rockwell. He's the best thing in anything.
Yeah.
And they replaced him with Demi Moore.
Yeah, no, that's no.
Well, she's better on the eyes.
She's better on the eyes, but like
I don't know. That's
Rockwell's
subjective.
got the dance moves, man, and he looked freaking gorgeous in the first one.
Well, you're right. He was quite young.
He was gorgeous.
He was quite young, but Demi Moore is also quite gorgeous.
Yeah.
Demi. I'm sorry. I think we're gonna have to change the name of this fucking podcast to Semantics.
Yeah.
Semantics. Tony,
Semantics.
James, and Dave.
But yeah, that was my 2 weeks. I'm hoping that my next 2 weeks is significantly better than that one.
All right.
Nice.
All right. And
Dave.
over to you, Dave.
So I was going to talk about Kenneth Chamberlain because that one really struck me hard after you told me about it. But I would go with the best one was when I rewatched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is one of my childhood favorites, and it is very well held up. It still looks. It was a Blu-ray copy, and they'd restored part of it, and it still looks great.
I was gonna ask if you got to watch it in like high def or if it was.
I watched it on Blu-ray. I know there's
Nice.
a 4K that just came out, but I haven't gotten it yet. But it looks great. The acting is top notch. The animation is incredible, and like Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, like it is a beautiful, beautiful piece of cinema.
Banger for sure.
I've never seen it.
Okay, so
Okay.
I guess Tony.
Future episode.
I guess Tony's leaving for the Kumite.
Yeah.
And James is leaving because he's never seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I'm sorry. I've seen pieces of it. I've
Okay,
seen
we
pieces
will
of
watch
it.
it. We'll watch it again.
I've seen Dave's sexual awakening in it.
Oh yeah,
I understand.
Jessica Rabbit.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
still attracted to Jessica Rabbit.
I
I have no.
Now,
shame.
was this one of the movies that your parents wouldn't let you watch as a child? Because I know they wouldn't let you
No.
watch Jurassic Park.
They would not let me watch Jurassic Park. They also, someone gifted me a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on VHS, and it was like the cartoon,
Yeah.
and that was hidden in a guest room in my parents' house because I wasn't allowed to watch that either. So, but anyway, I digress.
We'll have words about this later.
Yes,
but,
we need to have words.
I know a lot of people say like Disney wants to like maintain like this family friendly image, but like this is like 40s noir detective thriller, like
Hard boil.
like it's like it's called
Yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he's being framed for murder.
Yeah, yeah,
a cartoon character.
yeah.
Like it's like it's funny and it's ha ha ha, but there's some
It's,
bleak
it's,
fucking
it's
dark.
got some
bleak-
demons in
there's some
there.
bleak shit that
Yeah.
happens. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a trip.
I gotta watch it.
It's a
Gotta
trip,
watch it.
and it's incredible. It's incredible. I love it so much. My Matt one would be Matthew Vaughn's The Kingsman, The Kingsman,
The King's
The
Man.
Kingsman.
The Kingsman. It was
That's the newest one.
that's
right?
the newest one. Yes, it's a prequel to the other ones where how they start the agency, and it has some interesting sequences. It has some pretty solid action and a couple of fun bits. And then there's a lot of lulls and a lot of why do we need all of this here? Couldn't this just be an email? Like,
Oh my, yes. Oh my God,
couldn't
yes.
this just be an email?
Why?
Because I was sitting there and I was like I'm not feeling the length, but I'm like, okay, we could get through this a little quicker. We could get
Yeah.
through this
move it
slightly.
along.
There's a lot of things that could have been done a little quicker in this, but like, and it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to set up a story where you kind of know exactly where it has to go already.
Mm-hmm.
It's the prequel issue, but man, just so aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, like I like all of the cast, and I was surprised by some of the people that show up, like my
Yeah.
boy Tucci,
Yeah.
and sorry,
Well,
our boy Tucci.
Well, spoiler alert.
Is that really a spoiler?
Well, it is a spoiler if you don't know that the Tucci Man's not in it. Like, come on now.
I apologize for the spoiler.
Tooch.
Tucci, Stanley Tucci shows up. I won't give you context, but he's there.
Seeking this movie out immediately.
Right? But like the lead cast is all great. I love Ray Fiennes and Gemma Arterton,
Mm-hmm.
and they're great. And just I can never say the guy's name who plays Rasputin. I can never say it right.
Yeah, no.
Reese Ifans.
Sure. That guy.
That
The guy who plays Rasputin.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Whatever he's on, the
Bath
rest
salts.
of the rest of the cast needed to be on it, because he
brings the heat.
brings the heat. And the movie loses a whole lot of energy when he's not there.
Oh my God. Do you know? It's been around online, but do you know what the mid-credit scene is?
No. I have not seen this.
I want to talk about it so bad.
Just talk about it. It doesn't matter. It's not. It's not a. It's
Is it a big thing? Like, is it going to ruin my Kingsman experience?
no, not at
No,
all.
it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous.
They set up this like Avengers style like thing of like they're getting the fucking team, like evil team together, and they fucking like out of the shadows comes Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh
like,
my god!
what
I saw a meme on the internet
the
about
fuck
that.
Yeah.
is this?
Because it's all about World War One, right?
Yeah.
And like they do a lot of like my knowledge of World War One is pretty limited, but they like tie in certain things
It's-
that's kind of fun.
It's pretty like where it's supposed to be, and then
Yeah.
they just like kind of tweaked history to work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Kingsman, but they didn't really have to change much. I mean, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, he gets assassinated. That's what kicked off World War One. It's all there. It plays
Yeah.
out. The
Yeah.
way that it plays out isn't exactly how it happens, but it works.
It works pretty. It works
You
pretty
gotta
well.
you gotta sprinkle that
The-
fairy dust, that
and
Hollywood
then-
fairy
and
dust
when
on
the-
it.
And after it ends,
Mhm.
like whoever's left of the evil team,
Yeah.
it's like, is it Stalin and someone else, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, if things aren't
Someone could
working
match
out-
my rival in the West.
Yeah, and then Adolf Hitler walks out, and it's like, what?
What is this?
What is this? What is this trash?
Wow.
Like it's over the top like the other
Yeah.
ones, but it's
Yeah.
like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it just adds all this like back nonsense to history that like it's so unnecessary. Everything that they set up, like World War One, works really well to it. I don't understand what the plan would be to if they were doing a sequel to this. Like what?
World War II,
I guess, but like that's
and then they
touchy.
like they have to get through the 20s, then they can get into World War II, and then obviously they have to talk about the Holocaust at some point,
Yeah,
and then it would just be about the Cold War. And
Yeah.
we've already seen enough Cold War movies. We don't need
We can
another. We
stop.
don't need a Kingsman Cold War
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And
But
we're
the
about to go
Kingsman-
through the new Cold War. Like,
yeah. It's and like the Kingsman is already the Cold War. Like it's always they're fighting in the shadows. They're taking out secret organizations, and you don't even notice it. Look, the newspapers. They don't tell me what I did. Like
yeah,
we don't need to. Anyway, it was just.
yeah, it's very. It was a fun little Friday night movie, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't pay to see it.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm glad it was streamed.
glad it was a streamed film. And the worst one I would say was a St. Vincent film called The Nowhere Inn. It's a mockumentary about St. Vincent's concert tour, and it's very avant-garde and very artsy and like
It was
there's-
very artsy.
There's a part. There's a
very
part where
artsy.
her and Dakota Johnson are in lingerie and they're doing some naughty things to each other, and that piqued my interest. But the rest of the film, not as much.
That's how I actually got him sold on to watch the movie.
That's fair. It doesn't take much to sell you on the movie. I feel
Yeah.
but-
All I had to say was Dakota Johnson in lingerie, and he was already turning the movie on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. It was a tough one to get through, and I respect it for the arts. The way it was edited was pretty cool, and I respect its ambition, but it wasn't for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Art films are is it one of those? I haven't looked at it up on Letterboxd at all, but is it one of those where like if you're like a super fan of Saint Vincent, you're like it's a 5 and
It might be. It's just very strange. Like it's a mix of like concert footage and like mockumentary stuff,
right,
and just like it's telling a story.
right.
It's just very avant-garde, which I'm not familiar with St. Vincent's music. Is she avant-garde?
Like to an extent, but not. It seems like an odd mix even to me, and I don't know her all that well either, but.
It's just very
Yeah.
strange. It's just very strange and otherworldly. But it was nominated for Best Editing at the Independent Spirits.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It deserved a nomination for
Yes.
editing.
All right, I guess we can move on to our main
Main
story.
segment.
All right, the
So-
reason we're all here.
Today's episode is sponsored by the movie Scream. No, it's not sponsored at all. I wish it was sponsored by Scream.
We'll get
We'll
sponsors.
get
there.
Don't worry.
We'll
We will
get
get
there.
some sponsors.
But yeah, Scream.
Which
the newest,
which Scream are we talking about?
just Scream.
Just
2022.
Scream 2022.
2022.
There you go.
2022.
So I guess yeah, we can start just like a brief history of Scream in general. First one was 1996,
Correct.
and there has been 5 of them,
Correct.
including this year's 2022 edition of Scream.
Yes.
I'm happy that they didn't go with 5 Cream for it,
I think that would have been clever.
but it
I
would have been
think
great.
5 cream would have
Five
worked.
cream.
I think that would have been
cream.
clever.
I'm kind of happy that they didn't, and we'll get more into even the title of this one, along with its main themes in a bit. So this one takes place, literally, 20? What's the quick math here? 2022, 1996, 20-something years,
25-ish, 26. Yeah.
26 years. Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
they say
Yeah,
25.
20
I think they say 25.
They say
Yeah.
25 in the movie.
right.
It's
yeah,
been, it's been some time.
it's theoretically 26 if we're going by its calendar year 2022, but
But
they
they
probably
made
were
it in
referencing
2021, and they're
2021.
referencing.
Yeah,
the
so 25
original.
years. And it is a definite 100% requel.
I hate that word.
It comes up so often.
I hate that word.
And yeah, so
Stupid.
it's in the same vein as your most recent requels of Halloween 2018. I guess more recently Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if anybody's watched that on Netflix, and I've seen exactly 2 scenes, and I'm okay.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
really the only 2 scenes.
It's not
you
a
really need to
masterpiece of
see.
cinema,
Exactly.
Uh,
Should not be seeked out immediately.
but it does have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, it
So
does.
it's about
finally.
it's
It
about
does.
time.
Finally.
To-
They
only
live
took-
up to
it
the
only-
hype.
It only took 50 years, but there's an actual Chainsaw Massacre.
So yes, Scream, following in that requel tread of carving out a new storyline while maintaining callbacks to the original, whether it's characters, sets, locations, kills, ways scenes are shot. Like there's a lot of homage paid across the 4 other films that happened. I guess before we talk about this one, in terms of I'd seen the only one of the Screams that I'd ever seen before this year was the original Scream.
Well, that's the only one you really needed to
Right.
see.
Yeah.
So this year I took it on myself to like actually go through it and go watch Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4 prior to seeing this one. And I mean they were all okay. The first one is still great.
First one stands out for sure.
And it was kind of, I guess, diminishing returns, which is what I expected as time went on and the series kept
Jay and
redoing
Silent
itself.
Bob showed up in the third one. Right?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. We try not
so
to
did
talk
fucking
about the third one.
Carrie Fisher,
Oh yeah.
Carrie Fisher did
Fisher
showed up
was,
in the
yeah,
third one.
You're right. You're right.
and like it was a whole like meta call out of, "Oh, you look like I'm not her." I'm like, "Bitch, stop!" Like, we know it's you. But what for? So I watched all of them more recently. But what about you guys in terms of like the franchise leading up to this?
I rewatched the first one at Halloween during Halloween last year.
Yep.
And I haven't seen the other 3 in 10 years ish. I saw the 4th one in theaters.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like you
I
were.
did see that. I did
yeah.
see that one in theaters on opening night.
Mm.
And I believe I watched all 3 of them like the day before, back to back to back. I might have actually recorded a podcast about Scream 4.
Really?
It's hilarious. Yeah, I'll have to look. But yeah, it's not a cherished franchise, but
Sure.
they're enjoyable, and I feel like I would get more out of them now because I would probably understand the references
Sure.
better than I would have in my teenage years.
Yeah.
But they're not bad movies, and I don't think any of them are awful.
No.
And
I
I
definitely
remember the
didn't hate any of them.
And I remember the 4th one being a whole lot better than people suggested it was.
Yeah, and
it
I
was
think
kind of
that's
before its time.
Yeah.
But
I think that's how I ended up too, of like peaking with Scream 1 and then it kind of falls into like a valley. Not really ever hating it, but then coming back up for Scream 4.
yeah,
It's
Scream
actually
4
not
Scream
that
4
bad.
Scream 4 was a banger.
Yeah. Do you hold the first one in any sort of like reverential place for horror, or?
I think it's just a solid. It's a
Yeah.
solid
It's a
movie.
solid
It's solid
horror
90s,
movie,
solid
solid
90s
slasher
movie, and
movie.
Sure.
it speaks to a generation. It feels dated, but not dated. Like it's
It still works.
It
Minus
still
like some of the
works.
technology of like
Yeah,
everything's
but- yeah.
landline, but
yeah, but you take out the landline stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still like it still works, and it's still scary, and it's still
agreed.
really funny, and it earned its place.
Yeah.
It earned its place.
Definitely.
And it also launched Scary Movie, which is also
Which was
a banger.
Which was directed by Keenan Ivory Wayans,
Yeah.
who directed your "I'm Gonna Get You Sucker."
We're coming full circle, man. We're full circle here.
Full circle.
Tony, what about you for the 4?
Yeah, like I usually make I make a conscious effort to at least watch one of them around Halloween time. I know my wife is kind of obsessed with Scream. I wouldn't say obsessed, actually. I would say she loves Scream is one of her more preferred horror movies.
Sure.
Fun fact about Scream: I was deathly afraid of Ghostface as a child. And
That's fair.
It got pretty bad because David ended up being Ghostface for Halloween one time.
Oh yeah,
So
that was great.
having that costume in is, it definitely terrified me, and I don't think I got.
Right. You guys had the mask.
Yeah, we had the mask,
Yeah.
and Dave
I actually have 2 masks.
Do
2
you?
Ghostface masks. Yeah.
He did.
Because I have the whole costume.
Practical jokes too.
Well, naturally.
Yeah,
I had the full costume, and then one of the Scream box set I got came with the mask too.
Oh, I remember that box set, and it was like packaged. It was like shrink wrapped in its own thing. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
Neat. I think I like the costume more than I like the movies. It is a pretty cool costume.
It's dope.
It is pretty dope.
It's a
very
really
cool costume.
it's a really good
mask
idea.
It's pretty iconic at this point.
Yeah.
It's a great fucking. You know what though, and slightly off topic, but also most horror franchises, good masks. I don't know what it is. Inside Out William Shatner worked.
It's true.
Fucking this weird ghost face thing worked, and like weapon choices, a hunting knife, beautiful,
That's
perfect.
it.
It's classic.
Sometimes
Look at
it's
that
a kitchen
fucking
knife.
curved
There you
blade
go.
right at the end.
Yeah.
Bueno. Yeah, good masks in horror
masks.
movies. They always work. I don't know what it is. Like why anyway. Good masks. I think is what I'm gonna say.
Or they wear other people's faces.
Oh God, yeah.
There's that, too.
Yeah.
There's that.
It's always a
or
mask of choice.
burn
But again,
faces, or
is that not a
pin-
mask?
Pin faces or
Yeah.
hockey masks. Yeah.
Yeah, good masks.
Good masks.
But going back to my thoughts on the franchise, like the first one is your old timer. It's definitely gotten better with age, I would say. I was always kind of partial to the second one for some godly ass reason. I don't know why.
I don't remember it being that bad. Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Ollie
who was-
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Come on.
Who was
Laurie Metcalf.
Who was the guy at the beginning? Was it Mekhi Phifer? I want to say.
Isn't it Omar Epps?
Omar Epps. There.
Yeah, Omar
yeah.
Epps. Yeah.
So Omar Epps
Mekhi
getting it.
Phifer.
Mekhi Phifer, you know. No, Omar Epps getting it in the bathroom in the glory hole.
Yeah.
That stands out as one of the best kills in my opinion. But other than that,
the Dick and Scary movies.
The Dick
That's
and
all
Scary
I think
movie,
of
yeah.
now. I like
the Dick
my
and Scary
God.
movie's pretty good.
so
pretty
good.
good. But yeah, it's. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite franchises, but I will say that the original is definitely an all-timer.
I agree. So, thinking about all of that, moving into Five Cream.
Five
as
Cream
I'm
is
now
what we're
just
calling
gonna only call it now.
That's what we're calling it.
We should just call it ice cream at this point.
Ice cream. I like it too. Do we want to go? So since this is coming out, like we're timing this with the release on Tuesday.
Yes, the digital release.
The digital
Digital
release, so everybody can see it, and you probably should see it before you continue listening to us because we can't not talk about otherwise. What are we talking about? Like
we don't have
the
to spoil,
feeling.
We don't have to spoil the whole thing. We're not going to. Let's not tell everybody who the killer is. That ruins the fun.
Yeah, but it ruins some of the things I had written. Like,
You know what? Let's do this.
We'll have a
We're gonna tag a spoiler section just before we get to like the most crucial spoiler of who the killers are. At that point,
if you want to
All
sign
bets
off,
are
you can
off.
skip
You
or
can
not.
skip
It's
over.
up to you. I
All
would
bets are
recommend
off.
though, like watch it first
Watch it
because
first.
all bets are off.
I mean I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it as much as I liked Scream 4.
That's fair.
I didn't love it. I didn't think it was like the second coming. But there's reasons I think that we can parse into a little bit more. But do you want to go like sort of not moment by moment, but like part of the movie by part of the movie
Yeah,
and just sort of
yeah.
talk about like any random thoughts you might have had from it.
If you'd like, yeah.
Sure.
We can,
Why don't we do
I,
that?
I, while I would not risk my life for the Babadook, I did, I did appreciate that. I like what they changed. I like that it wasn't the exact same formula. They changed it up a bit.
Yeah.
And they made some key changes to certain moments and certain tropes that the Scream films are known for.
Yeah.
And I think not making Arquette, Courtney Cox, and Nev Campbell the leads this time.
100%.
I think that was the
love
best
that
move.
choice.
I think that was the best move. Like,
That
you
was
could only
great.
do it so many times. Like, even when even the fourth one, they were pushing it, and I
Yeah.
feel like they did a good job just kind of having them in the background and having a new cast finally. I think that was a good choice, and I think it did a good job speaking to the current generation of horror and taking jabs at elevated horror, and
Yeah.
taking jabs at requels and carving its own path.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried just because I don't want to say I'm a purist, but Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson did all 4 of the original films.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having a new writing team, having new directors on this, I was a little worried. but
100%.
I feel like they were reverential enough, and they didn't reinvent anything, but it felt.
You could tell that they were fans of the original.
You could tell they were fans of the
They wanted
original.
to bring that love
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
And I don't feel it was overly like I said, it was very reverential, but I don't think it's like Force Awakens where it's like, oh, remember this?
Yeah. Okay. So that's
Remember
that's where I wanted to
Like
kind
the-
of go
like
with
the,
this.
like the member berries. It wasn't all member berries
Oh
the
my
entire
God,
time.
yeah. So that's where I kind of wanted to go with this in general too. Was talking about like sort of requels, fan service, and like the. So we're not really spoiling anything here, but like one of the main things that it deals with thematically, at least towards the end, is about like toxic fandom, and it's like its whole fucking thing is talking about like requels that continually happen, making films that are like fan service only, and there was like that specific call out when they're all in the house together and they're trying to figure out, it's just after David Arquette sort of comes in as Dewey, and like they're trying to figure out who in the friend group might be the killer, and like they start talking about requels and how like it has to be a very specific type of requel where you're not too far into fan service and not too far away from it, because fans hate when you change too much. That's fucking
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Which I personally really liked that movie. But anyway,
I don't adore it, but I appreciate that he
went for something.
he went for a different feeling than Abrams did.
Yeah. He tried to
Yeah.
do something different.
Yeah.
He tried to do something different.
And like if we speak even in like she that one character made some call outs to other films. So there was the references, of course, we were just kind of talking about it, to like elevated horror of the Babadook and Hereditary, and which is great because I like all of those. It follows, and the Vivitch, as I will only call it because it is
That's
2 V's and not a W.
That's fine. That's fine.
It was nice to hear like call outs to films that like are happening now, but also going back to like that slasher style thing. But in the requel section, she was talking about a bunch of other movies that didn't work. I think she mentioned Flatliners,
Yep.
the remake of that.
Not very good.
No.
Not a very good movie.
And now I'm blanking on all the other ones. Do you remember?
You've seen it more recently than I have.
She mentioned Halloween 2018 and the good side of that.
Good film. Good film.
And yeah, and I think they followed that same sort of threaded line. I think Halloween leans more into making the older characters the main. Like Jamie Lee Curtis was a very big part of that
Well, she's the lead.
film, and she was the lead. Whereas in this one, yeah, I agree with you, Dave, of like making that choice to like have them come in as side characters, sort of help the story along, but not steal the focus away.
Yeah.
But my main question is, as a requel, which is the term I guess I'm going to use.
Where we need to stop talking about. Let's
as a requel, as a film that's it's rebooting the franchise while bringing back elements from a previous original film, using similar locations or exact same locations, using similar characters, bringing them back in, using similar shots, kills, whatever, as reverential to what the first one was, while continuing to make a meta commentary on it and how it's not a good thing, or like how some do it better than others. Does it get to escape that thread of, was it too fan servicey? Like, because they're calling it out, because they're winking at the camera and like, see, we get it. Like, does it come off as... My main question, or my main example of this, is when they first introduce Sydney back in, when Dewey calls Sydney, and they do this, like, shot from behind of this girl running, and then they do this slow pan from her feet all the way to her face, as if it's not going to be Sydney, because we just saw fucking Gale Weathers on the TV, so we know it's not Gale. Does that come off more as, wink wink, see what we're doing here? Or does it come off as, no, this is fan servicey, like this is like an intro that you would get in literally any other franchise that was trying to do something like this?
I think it's your second point there. You're hitting the nail on the head. It's not them being fan servicey. It's like you're gonna get that. You need a big, for someone like Sidney Prescott to show up on screen. Like, you need a big opening like that. So for them to do that, I don't see them introducing her any other way.
Right. So
I think you're also, since you saw all the films recently, and I have not seen them all as recently, but that was always what it was always self-referential. So it's not like they're outside of the box. Like,
right.
they had, like, if they didn't do things like that, you would be more disappointed, because you're like, okay, well, this isn't Scream anymore.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's my biggest struggle with, like, the franchise as a whole. Not the first one. The first one, because at that time it was dealing with more, they were talking about other horror franchises. And, like, well, these are the rules to surviving a horror movie, and, like, see Halloween, for example, but the further in you get, it starts just self-referencing back to itself. And
Stab,
its in-movie counterpart of Stab. So I've always had a hard time parsing out whether it gets to escape sort of any criticism of it being too fan servicey or being too reverential, because it knows what it's doing. It's to me, it's always...
Does it know what it's doing?
That's where I struggle, right? Like, I don't know how much of
like,
it is...
some of it's a little too clever for its own good.
Right.
Even the first movie was too clever. Some of the parts are still too clever for its own good. But that's what those movies were.
Right.
So it's not like it's...
They're always poking fun at
Yeah,
they're always
exactly.
poking fun.
Always.
And they're always, and then they started poking fun at themselves. And that's
Yeah.
why Scream
Yeah.
3 is kind of iffy, right?
Yeah.
And then leaving it for so long and then coming back for Scream 4
Yeah.
worked to its benefit, because they had new movies to make fun of, and they
Right.
had new...
Plus, like, the horror genre in itself, like, changed, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they need to change the rules.
They need to
and
change
Yes,
with it.
of
adapt
course.
and adapt.
They
right?
need to change with it, which makes me curious why they're already making another one
and not
Right.
waiting.
and
yeah.
not waiting for at least, like,
A bit of a
beat.
gap, yeah.
A beat, because, like, I get striking while the iron's hot, but I think the reason this one works is because it's been so long.
Right.
It's been so
And
long.
it's had the time to adjust to the
gestate.
world around it.
Yes. Because
It
it's a
worked-
very specific kind of movie, right? It's a slasher movie. We don't really
100%.
get slasher movies anymore. We get elevated horror.
Yes.
And then we
yes.
also get... And there was, like, that whole torture porn phase, and, like, they've been trying
Oh,
to...
man.
They tried to bring back Saw, and it didn't work.
No.
Nope.
It didn't work. And, like, Halloween was great, but Halloween Kills was not.
Was not.
And
And see, that worries me, too. That's what I was going to sort of talk about when you were saying, like, striking while the iron's hot, because, like, I feel like Halloween could have existed on its own, and then they decided to go, yeah, okay, we can make this a trilogy. But you didn't know what the fuck you were going to do for the second one. Like, the second one has... So I'm worried that, like, yeah, so little time has passed. You're right. With, like, what the fuck more do you have to say about the same thing that you're kind of like? I don't know what's more relevant now.
I think the problem, and it's basically a problem with film in general, is that the only thing that sells now that we're on the movie 3 of the pandemic, the trilogy of the pandemic, is that the only thing that sells right now is IP.
Sure.
So if the IP works, they're going to keep using it. They're not going to stretch outside of the box. And horror is one of the only genres that seems to be doing decently, as opposed to adult dramas or kids films or something that doesn't involve a superhero.
Yeah. And I mean, horror's always had that idea of make something for relatively little money.
Oh yeah.
And just make it work.
Yeah.
Like horror's always been able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Blumhouse, I would say,
Blumhouse
has perfected the model. And I was talking to James, and when's the last time they flopped on something? Can you remember a flop?
But even if they
Truth or
flop,
Dare didn't do that well.
Yeah, but they still made their budget back on
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
Truth or Dare.
They specifically keep them cheap for a reason.
Yeah.
Horror seems to have that way of it brings people out to the theater regardless, and it's
except for Malignant.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting.
Which
Malignant was great.
Now we're back to that conversation of IP. And even horror can't really escape it. Like, they're able to get into theaters, and generally they can make a movie for a smaller budget and get away with it. But the moment you bring in new ideas, suddenly now it's a gamble and a risk, and audiences don't want to take a chance on it, even though, just FYI, everybody, Malignant fucks.
It truly does.
Hard.
The back half of Malignant fucks. Like, it is worth the watch.
It truly
and
does.
Kind of just a small struggle through the first half to get to some of the most banana shit I've seen in a long time.
Can we just stop talking and just watch Malignant?
Yeah, just throw that. But
this podcast is now about Malignant.
I love me some Gabriel. But it's... I think we've gotten to saturation on IPs, and it's curious that, like, they haven't brought back Nightmare on Elm Street again. They haven't brought back Jason. I know he was in, like, lawsuit hell for a while, but they still didn't bring him back. They could have brought him back anyway.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't brought those two back. Like, they're redoing Hellraiser. They just redid Texas Chainsaw.
Right.
Which, I don't know how this series lasted as long as it did, because there was literally only one good movie.
Yeah.
It was the
like,
first
why is it still going? I couldn't believe there's so many of them.
Why is it still going? But we're just at the point of saturation. They're just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, and I think it's the problem with everything. So when you're asking, is it too self-referential? Is it too out of the box? The things it does different.
Right.
Like, they're basically telling you in that scene. That's the thesis scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Of you don't want to stray too far.
Right.
But you want to at least make it more unique or do something different, which they do in this film. Like,
true.
Not everybody dies.
Right.
There isn't like just like a couple of people left at the end. Like,
which I thought was kind of refreshing, right? Because like, you watch a horror movie, you know that all the main cast is going to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like 75% of the main cast, I think, still lived.
Yeah, like a number of people are still alive at the end of the film.
Exactly.
And
we didn't have to have a fucking drawn-out funeral scene for one of the previous leads where everybody had to, like,
we didn't
grieve.
We didn't need any of that, and it does enough differently, while still hewing to the fan service and trying to have its cake and eat it too.
Yeah. And so it ties back in of just like talking about how like IP is like the one thing that continues to work, but you have to do it in a certain way or else it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
And then so towards the end it was more about like sort of that toxic fandom thing of an idea of something being too skewed or too far away from what something used to be. Now the fans revolt and take it into their own hands, and in this case quite literally take it into their own hands to make something better or to try to force something better to happen.
But fans don't it doesn't belong
Correct.
to the fans.
Correct.
And it's
Exactly.
never belonged to the fans.
No.
And I think that's where it's getting dangerous now, and it's commenting on that. And the fourth
Yes.
one kind of commented on it too, where it's like we have people tweeting for the Snyder Cut and now the Snyderverse, like
Yeah.
they know what's best,
Yeah.
and unfortunately they don't.
No.
Like they might enjoy it. I would love to watch. I haven't seen Snyder's Justice League yet. I want to, and I'm sure his Snyderverse would be great. But like, there was a time, there was a place. It's time to move on.
Exactly.
Star Wars, who liked Episode 9? Who was that for? It didn't please anybody.
Nope.
And now they're just
Tried to please everybody and pleased absolutely nobody.
pleased nobody. And now they're redoing. Now they're bringing Luke Skywalker back in, like old Luke Skywalker, and like Mark Hamill's not going to be around forever. So now we're going to get this uncanny valley CGI Mark Hamill,
Yeah.
who's doing Luke Skywalker things.
Yeah.
And we need to stop.
Agreed. I like that is the angle that they took on why this movie exists and why what happens in the movie happens. And like, I was just like, I literally, I think at one point I was like, I paused and went, yeah, nice. Like, great.
Golf clap.
Like, thank you for actually like bringing this shit up, because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, to me, film keeps moving forward, and it should continually move forward, but we keep getting drawn backwards by people who think that they're owed something by directors or fucking producers or studios. Nobody's owed anything.
They don't owe anything.
You own the film, congratulations. You have the film on Blu-ray, good for you. That's all you own.
Yeah.
You don't get to dictate what happens next or where it goes. Art should continue to grow and change. We can't just get stuck in repeating the same cycle. And I like that Scream doesn't.
Yeah.
It gets to comment on it. It gets to kind of be a little self-referential and bring back specific characters and sets and locations. But it gets to carve out its own path and introduce us to new characters that can, if they want it, continue on forward.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Elevated Horror, and Jordan Peele Get Out is
God,
a much different movie than Us.
Yeah.
And is probably a much different movie than Woke.
Yeah.
And like, he has his own genre now. Like, it's his own thing, and he's a brand, and we're going for him. Just like Nolan is a brand, and we're just going for him, but he's making very different movies.
Yeah. We need people that'll continue to take those big swings. Even if you got to use the same IP that we already have to do it, at least do something different with it. And I like that Scream kind of does. It does give you something different that isn't just the same thing.
That's fair.
Anything you want to add?
Honestly, I had a blast watching this. I wasn't really expecting much. I love that it was pretty much a love letter to the first one, and it had that sprinkle of nostalgia, that sprinkle of what you guys are saying and how you're trying to make it new and you're trying to comment on everything. I like the social commentary on it. And what I also loved is the pandemic moments in it. And when I say pandemic moments, I mean, and this might be getting into spoiler territory, but I just thought it was funny.
Sure.
There's the part where near the end where they all like come rushing into the room, and they're just like, "Oh, you're the killer! No, you're the killer! No, you're the killer!" And I'm just like,
sure.
That is one of the biggest 2022 moments I've ever seen, because you're literally pointing at each other. You don't know who's who, right? And it's almost like you can't believe anything, right? And then another point that I absolutely loved was the girl getting smashed with the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Like,
the fuck was that? Hand sanitizer?
Like, I was like, what
Great.
the fuck? What the hell? Like, just in another time that would have been nothing, but in the time that we're currently in, a girl getting smashed in the head with a bottle of sanitizer and then getting lit up, like,
it was Chekhov's hand sanitizer.
it was just magic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I love Chekhov's.
Jeez. It was. I had two. So, for everyone, if anybody knows what Chekhov's gun is in terms of like a theory for film, it's if you see a gun in the first act, by the second act it has to be loaded, and by the third act it has to be fired. So for a lot of things, as like a fun joke, Dave and I just point out things that are Chekhov's whatever. So I had two for this one. One was Chekhov's hand sanitizer, so I'm like, that's going to play a factor. But right at the beginning, she takes this huge puff out of her inhaler. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's Chekhov's inhaler. We're going to see that come back later. So I've just started using it to define like specific things that I know are just like planted in the beginning so that it's going to pay off later on. But yes, Chekhov's hand sanitizer was a good one for this one.
And that's got to go down as like one of like the better kills in the Scream franchise. I have it written down here that passing the torch, because that's what they said. They like passed the torch.
Yeah.
It rivals the kill in the fourth one, where it was just like they looked at the girl and they're like, clear, and they get her in the head with the
also a good
defibrillator.
kill.
Also,
that leads me
ridiculous
down
kill.
one other thing I wanted to mention too. Of like, so 1996 to 2022. Man, Five Cream was violent.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
Vicious.
Like those. Oh my god!
You
fucking
guys say that. I didn't see. I think I've also been desensitized.
Oh, for sure.
I didn't think it was overly
I
violent.
didn't jump out of my skin, but I was just like,
I didn't think it was overly violent. Like some of it was a little. I was like, okay, yeah. But it was the guys who did Ready or Not in that movie.
Right.
Was it Ready or Not?
Ready
No.
or Not?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it is Ready or Not.
Ready or Not.
the one in the house with the
Ready or
seat,
Not.
Yeah.
Ready or Not. And like that movie's pretty vicious.
Yes, but
in fact, it ends in buckets of blood.
100%. But I think more of like, because I watched all of it back to back to back to back to back.
That's fair.
I noticed the trend of it just increasing as time went on, because I guess in general we've become more desensitized to violence. But like that kill of fucking Wes at the door with the knife going through his fucking cheek. That was hardcore, man.
It was his neck.
Or his neck.
It was his neck.
Yeah,
It was
that's
his
right.
neck.
Yeah.
It was hard fucking core. Like, damn.
Yeah.
And like at the beginning when he literally like stomps on the girl's ankle and like completely shatters it, I was like, oh jeez.
Yeah, it was playing for keeps.
Yeah, it
100%.
definitely.
It
Yeah,
was playing for keeps.
Like the violence group at the time, I like that they also tweaked the premise around it to work with the time as well. Like, yeah, okay. So first of all, cordless phones, I guess, because you still need a landline.
you gotta have the landline.
I just like, I'm thinking about it, if it was me and like I was living at home and my parents had a landline, would I even answer it? No. Fuck
Probably
no.
not,
And I
no.
like that the first thing she did was just like look at it and mute it. I'm like, same girl. Like that's, yep, I'm right there with you. There's no, I would not have done anything different there. But then she picked it up on the second ring. No, just let it.
Just
let
let it go.
to voicemail.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
It's not your phone. You're not. They're not calling for you.
And then like adding in the smart house element, of like she had control of the door locks, but it's a smart house, which they're not all that secure. So Ghostface was able to get into it, and and like unlock the doors, and that part was fucking that was more terrifying than like a lot of other things where like she kept trying to lock the door, and then like he calls back and he's like, so do you think I made it in between you trying to lock the door again? That's fucking creepy, man.
Well, it was a genuinely, there's some creepy moments and there's some fun fake out parts. You guys mentioned Wes, and where you're waiting for him for something bad to happen to him, and it's just waiting.
Yeah.
And like every turn you're like, no.
After after the second one, I was just like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. Like, it just went on for too long through that, because it was the entire kitchen was like
giggling.
door open, close.
I thought it was fun.
But can I say something? When
Sure.
you're getting held against your will and and a knife is getting pointed at you, do you only got your hands? You're face to face with this killer. Wouldn't you knee him in the balls, try and kick him?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Like I feel like he literally got shoved against the wall. He wasn't like, he still had his legs. He's like he's in pretty good shape. Dylan O'Brien, he's in good shape. So why wouldn't you just kick your assailant? At least if you kicked him, you would have more of a fight. You probably would have gotten stabbed more viciously, but
I'm gonna chalk this up to, when was the last time you were held up against a door against your will?
yeah,
Sure.
Somebody who was gonna stab you.
sure.
Like, you don't know how you would react, right?
Uh,
And that's something they
yeah.
did really well in Halloween, where she thinks she's a badass, and the moment she's face to face with him, she's fucking terrified.
Right.
Right? Because that's the truth.
You
You
don't
can-
know.
You don't know how you're gonna react.
100%. Like it becomes fight or flight, and it depends on what you might just freeze up completely, and that's just
That's what
gonna
happened
happen.
to him.
And that's what happened to him. He got stabbed in the neck.
But I think beyond that too, like in order for like a horror film to work in general, people still have to make really fucking stupid choices, and it's not immune from it. If everyone was so smart, then it wouldn't be a horror movie anymore. It
Yeah.
would be like, I don't know, a detective thriller. Like a horror movie without dumb mistakes isn't a horror, especially a slasher. You're not making a stupid mistake. How are we supposed to set up a kill? Like, if you're too smart for your own good, then why are you even in this movie? Like, you would have
Well, there
fucking
are moments
exited
where
stage left.
Yeah, but there are
Yeah.
moments where everyone is kind of smarter than they should be.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I did also take a note of. It's been like 25 years. Why is everyone still a fucking terrible shot?
Yeah, like Dewey still can't hit shit to save his life.
And same with Sydney. She comes in and like fucking still misses completely.
you would
whiffs
think
it.
you would think Sydney's like shooting fucking bullseyes at this point in her life, but yeah, she still can't
She
hit
might
shit
be out of
either.
she might be out of the game for a bit, right?
Oh no, Sydney Prescott is definitely not out of the game. She is always ready. She's like Chuck Norris. She sleeps with one eye open
Yeah.
and waits.
She
Yeah.
waits.
I also liked that. Okay, so the thing. Okay, I don't know.
Do you want to get into your spoiler talk?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I have
I
a
think
couple things.
we're dancing around spoilers.
Yeah,
Right?
we're doing
doing a
okay.
good job.
We're
We're doing
almost
a good
there,
job.
I think. But I had two other things. I'm gonna say one thing that I liked and one thing that I didn't.
Okay.
The thing that I liked, there's that moment where Douche Canoe gets fucking obliterated outside of his car,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
and
Douche canoe.
Douche
I like that.
canoe.
I like that.
and he like as he's walking up to his like the car turns on and it's terrifying and he thinks it's fucking Big Jock Chode with fucking Hobbs and Shaw references. By the way, a Hobbs and Shaw reference. Loved it. So Hobbs and Shaw exists in this universe
Yeah.
as a film. Great.
Well,
Um,
every film exists in that
right,
universe,
except for
right?
Scream.
Except for
It's just
Scream.
Stab.
And yeah, and Scream kind of
Stab.
exists as Stab.
Yeah.
Also, was it a flamethrower? Is that what he has?
Flamethrower. Yeah.
When they're
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
the YouTube video,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's great.
Scream just went or Stab just went full purge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I could think about when I saw
Yeah.
that clip.
So he's walking up to his car. I really appreciated the use of the soundtrack there. Of like it was a Nick Cave song and it was talking about like he's a ghost, like I'm like, ooh, this is like really cool, nice. I like diegetic sounds that are like a wink for the audience, but like the guy that's about to get killed has like the dots won't connect for him. I just enjoy that. What I didn't like, I'm sorry, you have two daughters. One of them was brutally stabbed at the beginning of the movie, and
And is in the hospital.
and
needs,
is in the
needs
hospital.
major surgery.
is in the hospital, is moved to a private floor, which, A, where is this hospital that has an entirely empty floor? Two, where is
Also, she's guarded by a police officer.
one police
in this
officer?
economy?
Yeah.
One police officer.
Where is her mother?
That's a good question.
She's
these are
referenced
questions.
as, oh, she's in the UK for a conference. Your daughter got what do you... Come home! What are you... There's not even a text message. What are you doing? It's your fucking daughter. She was brutally attacked multiple times. And, like, this takes place over days.
Yeah, it's only a couple of days.
Yeah.
And we don't ever hear from her. So I guess she's
She's
ghost
really busy.
mom.
Yeah.
Real busy. Real
Yeah,
busy.
she's
Too
ghost-
for her
busy at those-
stabbed
those
daughter.
conferences.
Ghost mom, right?
Yeah.
Ghost mom.
And like they explain that away in the first one with her dad because
Yes.
they kidnapped him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, well, where the fuck is her dad?
Yeah.
That he shows up and they're trying to frame him and stuff. But like this one, just like,
Yeah.
I was like, is it Chekhov's mom? And then she never showed up.
Showing up at the end. Yeah, she was gonna open the closet. It was
she
gonna be
never
like her
showed up.
mom, like
She never shows
shaking in a
up.
closet.
But yeah, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like they don't show other mothers in the movie. Like, the parents are there.
Yeah.
Except for hers. Which is
Everybody
fine,
else
because
is
that
there.
explains why she was on her own at the beginning and
Yeah.
why she was an easy target. But it's like,
Then she got stabbed and you didn't fly
You
back.
didn't
Do you not
fly
give a
back?
shit
Do
about
you
your
not
daughter?
care?
Yeah, like
do you not care?
You didn't even like FaceTime her? Like
Your
what the
no.
your
hell?
estranged daughter who like left the family came back,
Yeah.
but for some
Exactly.
reason
you can't be there.
you can't be there.
Yeah.
What's so important in the UK?
Yeah.
What is so important?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's put a moment right now where if you haven't seen this movie, which I don't even know why you're still talking. I mean, we've given some stuff away already. Stop
Not
now.
much.
Go watch it. It's worth it. It's out now.
It's on digital, yeah.
You can go see it. You can sit in your home. You don't have to go to a theater. It's worth a watch. Where I'm saying it's a recommend from us regardless.
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
recommend.
So stick a pin-
I would recommend it.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's a great film.
So stick a pin in our podcast right here. Go watch the film and then come right back.
Exactly.
This is your last warning.
Last
Yeah,
warning for
yeah.
spoilers.
Before we start talking about spoilers, and I'm going to sound the purge alarm now. Wee 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 wee
I love it. I love it.
Final shot. Final time. Wee wee. Okay, now we're talking. Now we can talk about.
For those of you who
shits.
lasted through the purge alarm, welcome to the last half of this movie where we have to kind of talk about things. The first thing to point out of a random thought was, so just before they go to get Chekhov's inhaler,
I love that.
the younger daughter gets attacked brutally at the hospital again. And like she struggles her way out of bed because she knows she's in danger, and she's barely able to hold a wheelchair together and like move down the hallway. She's struggling. Her fucking arms are broken. Her leg is all fucked up.
It's
having
my
a
girl
real
Jenna
hard time.
Ortega. She can take it.
Jenna Ortega is great,
She can take the heat.
fucking great, but like she's struggling with this wheelchair and like whatever. All that happens, and then R.I.P. Dewey.
Which I need to
Go.
say my. Oh, is this my time to say
Talk.
about
We're
Dewey?
talking about it now. Talk.
You know what? I think that
Dewey died like a bitch.
he died like a fucking bitch. Let me say something about this, okay? And I'm sorry if I get anyone all up in arms about this, but I was fucking pissed when Dewey died. I'm all for, like, main characters getting killed off. I'm all for main characters getting killed off and everything. And you know what? I have it written here that David Arquette was probably like Harrison Ford. And he's like, yeah, I'll come back, but please, for the love of God, kill me off so I don't have to come back.
Sure.
Right? But, like, just the whole, like, him pumping
Wait,
up
but like, what does David Arquette have going on in his life?
his wrestling career.
I was gonna say it's wrestling career.
If you
he has a
haven't-
wrestling career.
He does. If you haven't seen the movie already, the movie is called You Can't Kill David Arquette. Fantastic documentary about his wrestling career.
Okay.
Tony's not lying.
Tony's
okay.
not
And,
lying.
are we talking like wrestling or like MMA fight? Like, is it
No, I
fighting
mean
or
wrestling.
Wrestling.
like
Mexican,
like wrestling.
like
Wrestling.
wrestling, like
Oh, wrestling.
luchador, like
Wrestling.
Like, fuck. Okay, now
Yes.
I'm adding that to my watch list. Jesus Christ, what the fuck?
3.5 stars on Letterboxd. You should seek it
Amazing.
out. But he went out in such an awful and stupid way. Because, like, you knew the second when everyone gets into the elevator, and even, like, the sister goes, Dewey, why the fuck? Like, he's like, oh, I gotta make sure he's dead. The girl goes, who the fuck cares? Yeah, Dewey, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Just get the hell out of there. And he goes
Yeah.
back, you have the slow motion of him putting the things in. You know he's gonna die. I don't know why they're prepping this up. And then he gets, like, right into Ghostface's face.
And then gets a phone call.
And then gets a phone call. So, like, bravo for Ghostface, like, just carving him up because he fucking deserved it for being such a fucking idiot.
To your point, they do set it up like loud and clear
Yeah.
that he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like even before that, like
Oh,
it
for
is
sure.
choreographed.
Yeah.
If he didn't bite it,
Yeah.
I would have been shocked.
Well,
Yeah.
he was supposed to
And-
die in the first one anyway.
and
so
they needed to kill someone. They can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Can't
You can't
keep
kill Neve
bringing-
Campbell.
Yeah.
You can't keep bringing them back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally
Exactly.
get it.
Like statistically, you can't just keep bringing them back.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Okay. And It was fine. It was overly choreographed. I thought
It was
the only
just
thing
dumb.
I thought was silly was the phone call, but they needed an excuse for that to happen.
Yeah.
And like he said it himself that he was going, I'm coming back. I'm probably gonna die. Like they set it up. I think the only thing that was
Mike.
the only thing that bothered me was how the ghost face mask apparently gives superpowers. Because like Dewey's he's a built guy, right? Like he's not a bodybuilder, but like he looks like he's he's about 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And Ghostface is lifting him
Yeah.
with knives.
Yeah.
And like it's already very like precarious. Like the knives are
And we
slicing
know
through him
who it
like
is.
butter, and we know who it is at that point, or afterwards we know who it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, whether we know who it is or not, it seems
But
kind
even
of
more so with knowing who it is. Like, yeah, okay, at that time, I guess you get to play away with it, but like that, once you know who it is, how?
yeah. I don't know how. I don't know how.
How?
I don't know how.
So let's circle back to that in half a moment because we're gonna get through to who it is before we circle back to that.
Yes.
So what I was saying about the wheelchair thing. So she's struggling with the wheelchair, whatever, and then right after that, they're rescued. They leave the hospital. They're like, "We're getting the fuck out of here." That's not how this works. But anyway, they're gonna try. Good for you. And then Chekhov's inhaler forces them to go to what I can only describe as a memorial orgy. Which I'm glad that they called out, and someone was like, "This is supposed to be a memorial for a friend," and it is like the rowdiest house party I've ever seen.
Well,
And,
that guy
like,
goes, "This is how I mourn," with a fucking shot.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm a typical tough
To
guy.
us!
Yeah. Give me a break.
Which, okay, I mean, I wish my funeral was like that.
I want my funeral to be like
You
that.
want a Viking funeral?
I
Shut
do.
your face.
You know what? I do.
But then, so they roll up to get this backup inhaler, and now Tara, it's Tara, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Pause.
If it's not, it's Tara now.
Pause.
Tara. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and now Tara comes back to this comes to this house to get Chekhov's inhaler, and she busts into this house on crutches. Like, she has no mobility issues. She's got crutches down to a fucking art already. And I'm like, bitch, you have stab wounds on your arms still. You were struggling to wheel a wheelchair, and now you're fucking king shit with the crutches. What? What? What is this?
You're right.
But also, I love late night orgy, fucking memorial, and like dude's about to go get it on, and then he can't because he realizes it's a memorial. And also, I don't know who the killer is. Which, yeah, I had called who I thought it was. So let's get who the killers were out of the way. It was Amber, fucking crazy ass best friend,
Yeah.
who was giving off the craziest vibes from the beginning, and boyfriend Richie.
Shout out to my boy Huey. From
Shout out
The
to Huey.
Boys.
You
Yeah.
and your Huey.
I kept saying Huey every time he came on to scream. I was like, "Oh my God, Huey!"
Yeah. Good for Jack Quaid. He's still working. That's great.
Yeah, good for him.
He's not just in
doing
the boys.
well.
Good for
He's
him.
doing well for himself for sure.
I knew. I had a feeling it was Amber. She had the crazy eyes.
She had crazy eyes.
Yeah. She had crazy eyes.
The Richie thing was like, oh, okay. I guess if it had to be someone else, it had to be them. But like, I liked that last.
Well, Dewey
act of-
points it out too. He's like, "It's this guy."
It's this fucking guy. Yeah,
Dewey
right
knew
away.
right from the start. He was like,
Yeah.
and he knew this son of a bitch, this guy is gonna carve me up.
But I think the fake outs for Richie worked, like
Yeah.
in terms of like him getting attacked and like taking damage and being kind of in the right place in the right time. I like the fact that the one time that the girl gets attacked at the hospital, both of the killers are unaccounted for
Yeah.
at the same time. So that was like, now thinking back to it, I'm like, oh, that was clever. Okay. And like, you knew he was watching Netflix, and you knew Amber fucked off to wherever she went. So I
would
like
be scared of her though, because she's like She-Hulk with knives. Like,
Yeah, so
she's,
let's
she's
circle-
kind of crazy.
So let's now circle back. So we know that it was Richie and Amber, and the people that got attacked in the hospital when Tara was trying to wheel her way to freedom was Tara, Richie, Tara and Richie,
Tara
Richie,
Richie.
yeah.
which meant that Richie was currently not in Ghostface, which means that the person that hulked Dewey
Was Amber.
was Amber.
Yeah.
This 5'5", 120-pound internet fan of Scream.
She's the Hulk.
She's the
She
Hulk.
had secret fucking energy after taking 3 bullets to the chest with she had a bulletproof vest on. Okay, fine.
For sure.
The Scream way.
Yeah.
She still would have been in a little bit of pain.
Yeah, she's sore and she fucking knifed this guy. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're such good friends, like maybe you should have seen some of the signs.
For sure.
I did, Miss Clingy. And
Well-
I don't even know her.
Well, Tara didn't. She still trusted her to have her backup inhaler. Like maybe you should have like took
Now-
a break.
Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, Amber was the friend right at the beginning, right? That was like being spied on.
Yes.
Okay. One of my comments that I made, and I didn't realize it until right now, and I didn't circle back to it after I finished watching it. In the beginning, so she's got Ghostface on the phone, freaking Tara out, and Ghostface is like, yeah, I cloned Amber's phone, which theoretically didn't even have to. It could have literally been Amber.
It was Amber's phone.
Also, Amber let's say Amber or Richie sent a video to Tara of like, hey, look, see, I'm right outside Amber's room. But fucking Tara's watching it like it's a fucking FaceTime. It was just a video. And she's like, oh, she's gonna get it. I'm like, but you're not watching anything that's live. How the fuck do you know? Use your brain, girl. Like, this is a video.
Again,
Yeah.
she was in a fight or flight
Yes.
situation, so she might not have caught on to that.
Yes.
And I'm sure the audience was being misdirected as well.
100%. 100%.
So,
But I caught that immediately, that she like opened up, like it was like a .mp4 that was sent to her by text, and like,
but but he could have
Yeah.
literally just recorded it and sent it to her.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be live. It could literally he just did it.
Yeah.
Right.
I liked the fact that it was Amber and Richie. I liked their motive. I liked
Toxic fandom. Yeah.
Yes. And like needing to rewrite history, and they wanted to star in their own movie, and basically they were redoing sort of the end of that one too,
Of Scream 4. Yeah.
Scream 4, right? Where everybody was gonna die, and they were gonna be like the lone hero that walks out of there.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed watching Jack Quaid's brains get blown out at the end.
Yeah.
That was magic to see his brains explode out the top of his head all over the floor.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed when Sydney was walking through the house and like going to where all the old spots were. Like the first spot she went to was the thing
The
under
closet,
the stairs, and
yeah.
fired a shot into it and then opened it up. And I'm like, nice, all right, cool. Like I like that you
She
still
has
remember.
PTSD. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She remembers, right? I thought it was clever that it was his house. That was a fun little nod. I enjoyed when the girlfriend gets shot in the face. Is that who it is? Or one of the friends gets shot? Because they're like, oh, you're the killer. And she's like, I'm not the killer. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And
Nope,
and you guys,
I'm the killer. Boom.
and you guys were talking
Yeah.
about them not knowing how to shoot. She knew how to
Oh,
shoot.
she knew. She shot that girl in the face, and also Gail Weathers right in the stomach.
Yeah, like she knew how to shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, and like when they're walking up and they're like, this is a trap.
Yeah. Well, they know it's a trap.
They know it's a trap, yet they fucking
Cindy
they took
whiffs the
so
shot.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they took so long to like they just let her fucking sit there, and then like Gail gets shot.
This is a trap.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think my biggest issue with the film is Melissa Barrera as Sam is not very good.
Right.
She's not a very compelling lead.
No.
And I think making her the illegitimate daughter of Billy Loomis, I
yeah.
think that was a little forced. And I think
Yeah.
CGI Skeet Ulrich
Oh,
was
CGI
real-
Skeet.
was really silly.
Oh.
and like he's still in his outfit from when he dies.
Yeah.
And it's like, but she wouldn't have seen him then.
Exactly.
You'd have a picture of him, so you would know what he looks like, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't know what he looked like in that moment.
Yeah, and that de-aging was not the best.
No, it wasn't the greatest.
It
And
did look weird.
Yeah.
It looked weird. Like if it was just his voice, like that would have been one thing. But de-aging him, putting CGI, like no.
No.
Especially when so much of it's practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of like special effects stuff here and there, but it's very practical.
Yeah.
And then this goofy thing.
They did that. Yeah.
And I was just
Which
like,
is,
what is this?
It doesn't help.
What is this?
Like, I guess I get she's like maybe concerned that like she doesn't know herself.
Yeah.
And maybe she's like, I was like, where's this going? Are we gonna do like
It doesn't really go anywhere.
when she falls asleep, he takes over?
Yeah,
what-
like it
what is
doesn't
this
go
heading
anywhere, and
towards?
it doesn't really hint like it doesn't even
Until the
there's
end
not
where
even a
it's-
moment where you're like, oh, maybe
Until the end where it's
'cause-
like you don't fuck with like the daughter of a serial killer,
yeah.
and it's like just nonstop.
Yeah, she
stabbing.
goes like full on Billy Loomis on it. See, I'm the opposite. I liked that angle. I felt like you guys are right. They didn't do anything with it, but I'm hoping that they've planted the seed now, and maybe that's where they go in the sequel. Maybe a good. It's an interesting take, and it's interesting. Interesting way to go in another direction, make it new.
I think it was forced, and I think it takes away from the movie, and I don't even know if they needed it. Like maybe the only reason they needed it is because the mom didn't come back.
Yeah,
If the mom
fucking
came back, it would have been
Christ.
fine.
Yeah, exactly. And they could have had like a whole hash out about fucking Billy Loomis. I wish they brought back fucking de-aged Matthew Lillard. That's
Yeah.
who we missed.
Right?
Yeah.
That's who we missed.
And it's so goofy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I thought it was just a very odd thing.
Yeah.
And the moment it happened, like he first shows up, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
I was
Why would you
thrown
do
off.
that?
I was thrown off right at the start because I was like,
God.
that looks fucking weird.
Yeah, it's just it's not even just the CGI. It's just the whole like the CGI doesn't help. It's just like the whole thing just doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't feel kosher because the rest of it's so tightly
Yeah.
wound, and it's like this was obviously put in after the fact.
100%. And I agree with your main point too, that she's not the strongest lead.
No, she's not. Like
It-
Jenna Ortega is great,
It's great.
but she is not,
No, and
she's a whole lot better in the Heights.
yes, 100%. And like it's hard to know where they kind of want to go with this into the second one, and maybe they'll like
The sixth one.
yeah, okay, the sixth overall one. But like I hope they give her character more
To do.
more to do, less Billy Loomis,
Yeah.
more her, and like just write her better. Like it was just she just kind of had to be there in order to keep things moving. But like Tara was better, and she
Yeah.
was fucking bedridden for most of it.
Yeah,
She was in a closet for most of the third act, and I
Yeah,
still was like,
she's
"Oh
a
man,
much more-
Tara!"
She's a much more compelling character, and she was
Yeah.
She's not a good enough lead.
Yeah.
She is the weakest part of that movie.
Agreed.
And the movie does so well without her that you can look past
Yeah.
her not being a good enough lead, because she's not Nev Campbell, but she's also just, I don't know, they did her dirty.
Yeah.
They did her dirty, and she's not as good. Her storyline is not as good as the rest.
Agreed.
So
So how do we wrap this up for Scream?
would you like me to do the spoiler whistle again?
Yeah, I guess we can bring. If you tuned out now, you may tune back in.
Wee-oo, 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 wee-oo. You can come back now.
Nice.
So the spoilers are done.
Yeah, spoilers are done. I think it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a recommend for me. I enjoyed it. I will probably revisit it at some point. I don't know that I'm going to own this movie, but I will revisit it down the road.
I already got the Steelbook pre-ordered. I
Oh
liked
my
it a
God.
lot. I liked it a lot, minus my qualms in the spoilers
Yeah.
section. I thought they did really well with it, and I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Yeah, I am too. I am looking forward to watching it again.
But I still won't die for the Babadook. I like the Babadook. I'm not gonna die for the
No,
Babadook.
homie don't die for the Babadook. Homie dies for maybe. Oh, I don't know. between the Babadook. Okay, if we had to, so out of the four,
Hereditary.
mentioned,
I'll die
you'll
for
die
Hereditary.
for Hereditary.
I'll die
Tony?
for Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Die for
I'll die
Hereditary.
for
I would die for
Hereditary.
It Follows. I liked It Follows a lot.
I'll die for Hereditary.
That's fair. Hereditary is a straight up banger. No
It
one's dying
Follows.
for the Vivitch.
No.
Definitely not. And It Follows is not a banger of a movie. I hate It Follows with every fiber of my being.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
That's true. Tell us what you like. Are you still recommending?
I don't know. Am I gonna have a chance to talk? Hold on a sec.
No.
Brush your teeth, Tony.
Brush my teeth.
Talking time is over.
Talking time is over. Yes, I have I have also pre-ordered the Steelbook of Scream.
So there it is.
So,
yeah, there we go.
And I had it pre-ordered before I even watched it. So
Nice.
definitely. I had a blast watching this. I watched it on Saturday morning while everybody was asleep.
Sure.
I had to silently yell at the screen, which I thought was always fun. Definitely would recommend if you're a fan of slashers, if you're a fan of Scream franchise, or even horror movies in general, definitely seek out this one. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And yeah.
Am I the only one who saw it in the theater?
Yeah.
I'm actually upset that I didn't see it in the theater because I actually had this written down that there was a couple moments in here that if I was in the theater, it would have been electric. Like when Sydney goes, I'm Sydney fucking Prescott. Of course, I have a gun. Like, could you imagine
That
that,
was
on
great.
opening night?
Yeah,
Like that would have been.
I was
expecting
more like-
everybody to stand up and clap
Yeah,
and
like
cheer.
clap and cheer.
There was
and
like
stuff,
15
right?
people there, and I swear to God, I was the only one chuckling at half of it.
Yeah, and then the other movie.
I was the only
when-
one having a gay old time.
And the other movie when she was like, "And the Babadook fucking rules." Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Imagine that on freaking opening night.
Still
of
not
course.
dying for the Babadook.
Yeah,
How many of those people would have seen the Babadook?
that's true. If
They're
we
not
saw,
into
if we saw, it,
elevated
yeah,
horror, man.
yeah.
I
That's
don't
the problem
They're
with
into
the casual
stabby
public.
stabby.
That's true.
Yeah,
true.
death.
It's true.
So yeah, sounds like it's 3 thumbs up over here.
Agreed.
But yeah, it's out.
3 definite recommends.
3 definite recommends. It's out. Go watch it. It's worth it. And maybe you'll agree with us. Maybe you won't. You know, it's fine.
Tell us in the comments section.
Yeah, let us know in the comments on Spotify. I don't know. Let us know what you think. You can tweet at us. But before we get to that, before we get to like our handles and shit, I'm gonna have a last segment that I want to keep as a tradition because if any of you know David Baldwin, the first thing that should come to your mind is a plethora, and that is the only word that I can describe it, of physical copies of movies. It's become as one of his 2 brothers. The thing that I know the most is that almost every week without fail there's an Amazon package showing up for Dave that includes Blu-rays. So we're going to add a segment in here. And Tony, you're also welcome to this because I know you order quite a few as well. Not at the same level
Not
of
at the
degree.
same. You know. I have to really want it. If I look at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what, I need that.
I need this.
I will buy it. I'm not like Dave, where it's just like, oh, it's $5. It's a steal. Let's grab it.
Yeah. So we're gonna add a segment in here that's we're gonna call Dave's New Blues, where
Where I wear jeans?
if
I
you
show
want,
off my
man.
new Calvin Klein.
Yeah. Your
Denim on
501s.
denim.
That we're just gonna give Dave a moment to give us what's your new favorite Blu-ray that you got?
So recently, I was hoping that I would get Alligator on 4K, but I didn't, so that'll have to be my next one. Right now, the newest Blu-ray that I got that I'm enjoying is Miller's Crossing, the new Criterion edition.
Shout out to Criterion. Please sponsor our show.
My
So-
God, could you imagine?
Anyways, before we let that dream continue, it's just a solid little thriller, little Joel Ethan Coen film from the early '90s. There's a lot of controversy about this release right now because there's
Oh.
a minute and a half that's been cut from it.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. They've edited it, so it's a director's cut.
Oh.
So it's not the original version, which comes back to our discussion about what fans own and what they don't.
right.
Do we know what was cut out?
There's one line that was cut out for sure, but then I think it's just trimmed here and there. I haven't gone through the whole thing yet to check. But I love collecting my Criterions, and I love Joel and Ethan Coen, and it's just a solid little film.
Agreed.
That's, it's underrated. A lot of people don't, like, when you think Coen, you think Fargo, and you think Big Lebowski, and you think No Country for Old Men. You don't really think Miller's Crossing. But,
Solid gangster movie for sure.
Agreed. I saw it for the first time, circling all the way back when I was talking about the Brood and the Criterion Challenge that we're doing. That was the first one I watched for my Criterion Challenge. I'd never seen it before. And what a solid film. Like, to kick off their career with that.
Well, they had a couple before that. But
Yeah.
that was where they started going.
Yeah, I think that one was really what kicked it in gear for them.
What kicked it in gear, yeah.
Like, to move from that and then to give people, to give us Fargo and The Big Lebowski and No Country for Old Men and
Llewyn Davis.
And like,
yeah.
just bangers after bangers, and to start with something like that is just incredible. I was really happy to watch it, so good for you for owning it. That's great.
Thank you.
That, I think, wraps it up for our first episode. That is on Scream 2022.
Woo, 5
Woo,
cream.
5 cream.
We'll take a moment here at the end just for some housekeeping, some administrative stuff, if you will. Since this is our first episode, you can find us anywhere you'd like. You're probably listening to this podcast, hopefully on your favorite service. But we are on all of them, so if you maybe stumbled across us on Spotify but really like Apple, you do you, man. We're there. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. We're at the exact same handle. It's at Fingerguns with a Z, so FINGERGUNZ TDJ, Tony, Dave, and James. Come join us. Follow us. Give us a follow. We'll tweet some stuff. We can talk about film more. We can talk about this episode more. If you join us on Patreon, we're going to come up with some interesting prizes, and maybe not prizes, some interesting levels of patronage. So you might get some extra filler and stuff that was cut out from this episode for time, and maybe we might start our Finger Guns After Dark.
Ooh.
Which I don't even know what that means yet, but we're gonna figure that one out.
Definitely like Finger Guns After Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets a little blue. Come find us. We're gonna be back. We're gonna keep this up to usually bi-weekly if we can. So tonight's with Scream, and next week, anyone want to give away what we're seeing?
It's a little indie thriller, crime noir film about an orphan who, he becomes a vigilante and beats gangsters to a pulp at night.
That was Dave's audition for NPR.
Yes. Yes.
The movie is sponsored by the color red.
And the movie is sponsored by the color red.
Yeah. We're very, very excited. We are seeing The Batman on Thursday. I'm stoked. I know Dave got to see it.
I'm under NDA. I can't talk about it yet.
And I don't want you to talk about it. All we can say is that you did see it.
I did.
And he has thoughts which he gets to reinforce. He gets to have a second viewing and have even better thoughts than
And he gets
Tony
to see
and my
all
first
of our
thoughts.
reactions too.
True.
That's correct.
Yeah. He's going to be sitting there in the VIP theater looking at our faces while things happen. We're finger guns.
We're finger guns right now. That's
Anyway.
I gotta get new fucking
Tony needs new headphones.
new headphones for sure.
We're making this one up on the fly, but this was a lot of fun.
Sure was.
So stick around. We'll be back in 2 weeks with The Batman.
See you soon, everybody.